Could you start over, Larry?
This is
Please. Go ahead.
This is just one of many that I'd have to empty in a 6-hour period twice a week. And you can tell by the condition it's in right now, when this thing is loaded, it's very hard to maneuver. And I noticed that it seems like no other people were actually involved in emptying it. Sometimes if I leave some trash in here on a Friday, I come back 24 hours later and some of that trash would still be in here. Although there were people working in this department on 3 shifts, 24 hours a day. So my assignment would be to take this trash can and keep it empty. And I'd be evaluated on how well and how often I empty this trash can. Okay, I was hoping to show you some that was full and overflowing, but let's walk down this one. The conversation's over, because I just want to give you a shot at that hallway down there to show you that there's another one like that. But because it's not full, I'm not going to walk you down there. But at least you can see it from this one. 4 or 5 of these on the floor, and there would be another cart right here. But you can see that there's all kind of spill on the wall. There's a slick substance on the floor. And I mean, to be a hospital, these conditions look unsanitary. I'm not a scientist, so I can't evaluate exactly what those chemicals are, but if they are hazardous, you could get that on you. Now, when it becomes a problem, even though that's not my job, I'd often be assigned to clean this area. And if there's an inspection or something, I have to do it in a hurry. So that's just some of the things I was talking about before that is actually makes a guy, sick, just to think that people are here to get well, and there are what could be very real illnesses right here in the hall. These 5 to 8 of these bins, just depending on which floor you're on. Now here's another one. This is the 6th floor, and I've yet to see a bin that was overflowing. So evidently, GA crew that's doing this is actually doing a good job. But if you walk down this way, I'll show you something else. When I did this job, I took very good care of the bins and tried to keep them as sanitary as possible. But then again, this is a hospital area, and if you'll pan in here, you'll see that the inside of this bin is totally gross. And you'll see that there's a hole over there, a permanent damaged hole over there. So should there be any liquid in this bin, it would flow out of that hole regardless. Now there's a manufactured hole over here, so that if you were inclined to clean it, you could actually let the water drain out at a particular cleaning spot. But you see that this hole is open too, so no one's going to close that hole. If there's anything leaking in that bag, it leaks out and leaks onto the floor. And you'll notice over here there's a bag, as empty as this bin is, there's still a bag over here on the floor. So you say to yourself, why is that there? But I've come up, the bin be empty and there be 20 bags up here, just to make you throw the garbage in the bin. To take into consideration, these things are to be thrown away. They may sit here 2 or 3 weeks, but if somebody comes through here and says, well, these things got to go out, the GA worker is 95% sure that he'll get this detail. It just has to be under the circumstances where somebody complains about it.
That I've been hired?
Yeah, I know that I actually worked at over here.
Oh, I know all of them.
But how many would that be, like 100?
Oh, no. I really only see them, I'd say maybe about 20 different.
That's working now.
That's working now, that stick through it.
But over those 4 or 5 years, how many people would you say?
Like I said, a very few that really stick with it.
Right.
Because I did it for 2.5 years straight.
Right.
And the first application I put in, nothing.
No.
The second application, I went down to the city college and got a certificate as a janitor. I'm a certified janitor now. They hired me right away.
Yeah, well, see, those options weren't open for a lot of people.
Oh, I know.
And then you'll admit, if you hadn't been persistent, you still wouldn't have it.
Well, as a matter of fact, my issue was more with the PACE program, because when I went to my PACE worker, she told me I could not get a job by doing workfare for general assistance.
And that's a trip, because you can do all the work, but unless somebody gives you the opportunity to actually make the transgression.
Well, basically I did. I went and I persisted with the schooling, because, you know, the experience, the letters, all that. But once you get that certificate, once you go down to the city college there and get that certificate, they have to consider you.
You don't mind if we film it?
Not at all.
What's your name?
My name is Christy.
Okay. Yeah, Christy, I worked for about 2.5 years actually doing the porter job. And you can confirm the facts that.
Oh yeah, you have to do exactly everything pretty much that porters do, but you don't get the money for it.
That's true. So here's a true
I
case.
can vouch for the difference. I was making $290 a month, and now I make over $2,000 a month.
So as a GA worker, you were making $290 a month?
$290. Well, yeah, because I went back on the PACE program. When my worker told me I couldn't get this job, I told her I'd rather go to GA because I knew I could get this job. But I got a heart of steel.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, no problem. Good luck.
Thank you, Christy.
You have a good day.
You too.
How many people that you know of that were GA workers that have gotten a job as a porter?
Besides myself, maybe 1 or 2.
How many of those people are qualified?
Well, I know the gentleman in 5A is very qualified. The other person, I really don't know that person personally.
But how many
But I
people
do
on
know they got hired
how
from
many
GA.
people on GA that you know that could actually do the job should they have the opportunity?
A lot.
A lot. Thank you.
Thanks for
Thanks,
Okay.
Christy. Bye-bye.
Good luck.
And it's still trouble spot. But this trash right here is actually surgical type waste. It's in a red bin. There used to be a blue bin in here, but it seems like they've made a correction in at least classifying the type of garbage that will be handled. So it looks like a GA worker would not be responsible for this area here. And but this is more like the conditions that you would see coming to work in the morning. There'd be many bags, and it could be down and overflowing. Technically, you need a glove to pick this bag up, but just because it fell down when I opened the door, I'll put it back. this bag is supposed to be tied up so instances like that. So there's another bin up here, but I think you get the point that conditions are can be very, very bad. I'm going to take you to where we take the bins to dispose of the garbage, and we'll discuss some of the hazards on that end. Fifth floor now, and as we walk down to this bin, it's actually labeled 5B, so once again, we're in a position where sanitation is the key to being healthy, and I can only assume that there's garbage in here, but not so much it would demand attention. But then again, this top is up, so whatever's incubating in there can actually affect the environment in the hospital. And week in and week out of this will make you think that some people have got to be affected by all the potential hazard of having dirty containers, dirty trash bins in a very sterile environment. My job was to haul the garbage, but often did more by trying to keep those bins sterile and then keep the lids closed. It's an ongoing battle, but again, when I applied to get a regular porter job with the city, I was always denied. Most of the trails you see, it looks like liquid on the ground, actually come from those bins with open holes in the bottom of them, because whatever was in the bag is starting to leak out. And you can see they run from here all the way around to the compound. We walk this way. This is another facet of the GA workers' porter job. And I can remember on days when it was extra cold or maybe even raining, that a GA worker would have to come out here and break these boxes down, and it actually looks pretty clean right now. But this is some of the menial, tedious tasks that could be assigned, especially if you had some problem with the way you were treated inside. They'll say, well, you didn't like that. You've got something out here for you. Another way to actually force you to comply with jobs that were not assigned to you. you remember those blue bins that I was showing you in the hallways? This is the area where we would take them to dispose of the garbage. Now today this looks especially clean in the back. I don't ever remember seeing it any cleaner in the 2 years that I did GA work. But these compactors are specially designed to handle hospital garbage. They're designed to actually make the garbage sterile before it reaches wherever landfill that it's supposed to go to. Now, it appears that both of those are operating normally, so I can't show you any the problems that we normally face. But if everything is right, then the garbage gets disposed of, it gets sanitized, and this area remains relatively clean. But first of all, when you're paying somebody slave wages and they're getting manipulated and working under bad conditions, then they're not gonna be motivated to the point where they're gonna want to do a good job. They just want to get their job done and get out of here. So under those circumstances, the kind of bacteria that builds up in this area is normally so bad that you can actually smell the deterioration or whatever biological factors are causing the smell. But like I said, it looks very clean today. Over here on this side, this is a hose with steaming hot water in it. And once we dump the bags out of the bins, we were instructed to use this water to kind of sterilize the bin. So once we take it back in the hospital, it would be as germ-free as possible. But then again, you have to take the mindset of the GA worker, especially after he's been turned down for a job about 2 or 3 times. He's not going to be motivated to touch all the bases, dot all the I's. He's going to lose his ambition to actually do a good job. So I never lost my desire to keep the hospital sanitary, but I know other workers that just lost their motivation altogether.
Fold the clothes. So that was what we did. And then we count them and put them in stacks. And that'd be hot. It'd be real hot there. You gotta be real early. And it was hard work, but people would do it.
What were your work hours there?
Work from 7 till 2.
And 2 days a week,
Yes, 2 days a week.
and $472 so every 2 weeks.
Yeah. And it's $72 every 2 weeks.
How were you able to survive on such little money?
It was hard to say. I saved a little here and there for, and they gave us food stamps, but it's still.
What's your name?
Emma Harris, they're out.
What?
Organization for the GA and the Calvin.
Yeah. What is your role and how long have you been doing it?
I'm a organizer and I've been doing it since 1997.
How did you get involved in power?
They came out to my work site and talk to us out there.
And what work were you doing then?
I was out there cleaning buses.
Describe the kind of work that you did.
I cleaned the buses, the inside, like wash the windows and the seats in the front of the bus. Like we used graffiti remover, and they didn't give us protection for our hands, gloves and stuff. We needed gloves, masks. They didn't give it to us at first. So a lot of people was getting sick. So we had to have an organization like Power that fight for us to get it.
And how much were you paid?
Less than minimum wage, about maybe about not even $5 an hour was less. And every 2 weeks we got $172. I work Tuesday and Wednesday from 7 till 2 every for 2 days.
And did you work alongside city workers?
Yeah. I thought we did like the same, but we just didn't get the money, but we did the same thing we did.
They recognize you for doing work for the city?
No, the GA place where they didn't consider our work as counted as work,
What did they consider it as?
as volunteer.
And describe what GA is.
It's general system, you have to work for your money. And you get a little pay. And you do the money working by side by people who make more than you do.
And why did they consider it volunteer service?
Because they say it wasn't supposed to be a permanent job, that was just supposed to be temporary. When you go to GA, you say it's not supposed to lead to a permanent job.
And how many years did you do it?
I did it off and on since 1989.
And what would you need to have moved off from GA?
More money and benefits with it. So to be able to get a better place to live and have all the things we need to live, that's what's coming.
How much are city workers who are car cleaners making?
We make from $16 to $27 an hour.
And what kind of benefits are they getting?
They're getting vacation, they're getting health care, protection. We didn't get none of that like that.
Did you apply for a city job?
Yeah, at General Hospital. When I was working in the laundry department, they said that we'd be able to get a job. We put it in the application. And I put one in, and then I never heard from them.
A job opening posted?
Yeah, they had jobs opening. But they, instead of giving them to us, they gave them to people who didn't work, who didn't even know how to job. They was out, like city workers instead of people who already know how to do it.
And why do you think that the jobs didn't go to people on GA?
Well, they said that we didn't have enough experience for it, and it didn't count what we was doing. They didn't count our work. It don't matter how long you worked. It didn't have it on paper how long you worked at all. They said it was volunteer, so they didn't even check it.
Describe the work that you did at General Hospital.
General Hospital, I worked in the laundry department. What we did is that we do the sheets, we fold the sheets up, and the towels. And they have a pressing thing, it goes through it and it comes out, and you gotta fold the clothes. So that was what we did. And then we count them and put them in stacks. And that'd be hot, it'd be real hot there, you gotta be real early. And it was hard work, but people would do it.
How were you able to survive on such little money?
It was hard to say. I saved a little here and there for them. And they gave us food stamps, but it still wasn't that much food stamps. So I got about 105 food stamps.
And how did you pay rent?
Rent, well, I had it through 10 million housing, but it was the first and the 15th months I paid it half. They let us pay half and half. Mine was 135, 270 a month. We didn't have health care. People tried to get Medi-Cal, and they said we couldn't get Medi-Cal, so we had no health care.
Why couldn't you get medical?
They wouldn't give it to the people in GA, say it wasn't eligible for, so they wouldn't give it to us. And if you get sick and you don't call in or you don't come in, you lose your job, and then you have to go back and apply again.
Describe what the chemicals that you use for cleaning the bus did to people.
Their hands, people got it on their hands, and it was so strong. And even if you wear a mask, it was too strong. And people got it on their hands, and it messed your skin up. And you get in close, sometimes it was hard to get out. It's still that strong. And first they would give us gloves, and they would give us masks, and people got it on their clothes, and the body got on their skin, and it really messed their skin up.
Did people get sick from?
Yeah, I got sick too. A lot of people got sick. The smell, it was so strong.
What happened when you got sick from using the chemicals on the job?
The first they were supposed to send me to general hospital, but a lot of times I don't think they send people to general hospital. They're supposed to take them there if they get sick, but they just told them to go home.
And what happens when you miss that time from work?
When you miss it, they make you, if you go home and you don't come back, and if you don't sign, then you have to start over again. If you miss a day, you don't sign. So you have to go back to your work and start over again. You need 30 days to be applied to someone else again.
What does that mean to start over?
To start over is that you got to fill out papers over again, all the papers that you filled out before, and then get a worker, a new worker, because they give you another worker. Or you might have the same one, but most times get a new worker. And then they'll give you where you sign up where you're going to be, and then you'll get your money and start going again.
So you have to go through the whole reapplication
Everything
process.
over again, yeah. Every time. If you miss a day and you don't sign in and get cut off, that's 30 days. Now they make it, depending on how many times you get cut off, it gets longer and longer, like 60 days, 90 days.
So if you miss any work, they penalize you from cutting you off from a check for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah. What we do every day when we come, we would get all our stuff together, and we go out. They assign us where we have to work at, and some people will work outside cleaning the bus, and they have to wash it with have to wash things you wash it with, soap and water, and then people will wash inside the bus. And then they have people who do graffiti, just do graffiti all day long. They go find buses to wash the graffiti off of all day long. And what?
You spent 7 years doing the city's work.
Yeah. Little pay, no benefits, terrible, and treated bad. Really, really bad.
What should the city do to change this situation?
What they should is like give us more money and training, because a lot of people, but they say they don't know how to do it. They should give them training. People need training and more money, because definitely you can't live on how much to get now. You need more money. Like we would need, like people who make $16, $20-something, we should give out 15 or even that much as they get. Say we doing the work. They had all the GA workers was doing it, so the city workers didn't have to do it anymore. It was less of them and more GA workers, but the GA workers were getting less money, so the city was saving more money. And then to hire less city workers, and then hire more GA workers. They were saving money. Yeah.
My name is Larry Lattimore. Yeah, power stands for people organized to win employment rights.
What is your role in power?
My role as a member is to actually reach out and talk to people, other workfare workers, try and to give them a sense of if we join together, we can actually change the way the system is running us.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been with Power 3 years and a half, about 3.5 years.
What do you do for a living?
Okay, I'm a porter. I worked as a porter at the San Francisco General Hospital.
How did you get that job?
Well, finding myself unemployed in San Francisco, I qualified for GA, so I went down to the office and I applied.
What is GA?
Well, GA stands for General Assistance.
How were you treated at the GA office?
I found it to be one of the most demoralizing, dehumanizing atmospheres I've ever come in contact with.
Describe some of the treatment that you had there.
Well, from the onset, I was treated as if I was a second-class citizen. I many times felt intimidated by the workers, right down to the point where you have your fingerprints taken. That's very unique in any type of agency that's trying to give you a support.
Describe the kind of work that you did.
As a porter, I basically cleaned up, swept. I hauled large garbage cans to the trash compactor. Even though I wasn't assigned some very tedious tasks, I still had to clean some toilets, stop some overflows, clean up general plumbing messes. Sometimes I was exposed to very hazardous conditions with very few safety implements in place.
How were you treated on the job?
These supervisors at the hospital would use the fact that if they sent me back to the GA office, it was very inhospitable. So most people, and myself included, wouldn't want to be forced to go back to try and get some type of remedy for the bad working conditions. So you'd have a choice, basically, either to do the menial, tedious type, dangerous work, or go back and talk to an inhospitable, hostile type worker. And many of my coworkers just chose to do the menial, unsafe tasks.
And how much were you paid?
Our pay is always geared to minimum wage. It's not like it's paid. We work for a grant, and the grant has a set amount. So they just adjust the number of hours we work to equal whatever grant we get.
How much was the grant?
The grant has never been more than $375. Actually, I think it was more like $360 when I started. We worked 11 hours a week, but that was like 44 hours a month. And the pay came out to just above $550, I think. But I was working side by side doing sometimes more work than the people who are working for the city and making at least $17 to $18 an hour. So under those circumstances, even for those 11 hours, the city's still owed me more than $100 a week for just the labor that I did.
And how many city workers were you working alongside?
Well, at the beginning, there was maybe 18, probably somewhere between 18 and 15 city workers per shift. The more GA workers that were brought in meant that there were less and less city workers on the job. So we gradually did 80 to 85% of the work and got less than 10% of the money that was budgeted to do.
Did you apply for a city job?
Every 6 months or every 8 to 12 months, there were several openings for porters in all of the hospitals that the city controls, especially at General. Now, I had a chance to meet 2 or 3 people, one of which worked for the GA office on and off for like 13 years. And he always was assigned at the hospital. He tells me that he's been applying for jobs for at least 10 of those years. We get all kind of updates on what jobs are coming up, because sometimes the supervisors will use that for motivation to get people to do even more work than they were scheduled to do. They said, well, if you work hard, I'll put in a good word for you. And if I could do anything to make it happen, you'll get a permanent job here. So naturally, you create a competitive type, let's get this job done. But every time there's a job, every time that someone fills a job, it's someone from that's not from the GA workforce. And that's demoralizing, because you know the job, you do it every day, and then what happens is when they bring in a new recruit, you basically have to teach him or her how to do the job, and they're getting paid $15 an hour to start. Very frustrating type.
Do you feel that you did a good job?
Well, I'm always motivated to do the very best I can. Some of my training's in the healthcare field, so I do whatever I can to make people who are sick and injured feel better, or either get better faster. So I always try to keep the hospital sanitary, just to keep down whatever infection. So yeah, I know that I have a very skilled level when it comes down to the porter job.
What response did you get to your application for a city job as a porter?
Well, there's basically 2 responses. First of all, when you go to apply, you have the feeling that your application didn't even make it to the pile, to the person that was going to make the decision. Just the mere fact that you worked for GA seemed to be a liability rather than an asset. um, some type of stigmatization that says because you're a GA worker that you're not even considered. But on the job front side, the supervisors say, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't do the hiring. There must be something wrong with your application, or I'm sure you would have got the job. But if you just try, keep up the good work, we'll see what happens the next time."
What would you need to move off of GA?
Well, you have to examine the standards for this area, basically. I work side by side with some city workers. They were making 17, 18. Some city workers, after a period of time, was making $25 an hour. But it seemed that they had enough to actually live and actually flourish in this area. So I think, just to draw a comparison, something similar to what they're making, I think would be the goal for a porter at the hospital.
What should the city do?
Well, under consideration that the city has worked probably 9,000, maybe 10,000 workers over the 14, 15-year period of workfare. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that the city's been saving money in the millions each year. Somewhere between 14 and probably $20 million worth of just salaries. And that's not talking about benefits, vacation pay, or the fringe benefits that come from actually having a full-time job. So you add that up, somewhere between 15 million and 20 million for 10, 15 years, there's enough money right there that the city could actually reach out to the workfare worker and reward him for all the work's been done. And because he's already skilled, he could actually fall in place with the rest of the union workers and have something to be proud of.
What would you need to move off of GA?
Well, you have to examine the standards for this area, basically. I work side by side with some city workers. They were making 17, 18. Some city workers, after a period of time, was making $25 an hour. But it seemed that they had enough to actually live and actually flourish in this area. So I think, just to draw a comparison, something similar to what they're making, I think would be the goal for a porter at the hospital.
What should the city do?
Well, under consideration that the city has worked probably 9,000, maybe 10,000 workers over the 14, 15-year period of workfare. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that the city's been saving money in the millions each year. Somewhere between 14 and probably $20 million worth of just salaries. And that's not talking about benefits, vacation pay or the fringe benefits that come from actually having a full-time job. So you add that up, somewhere between 15 million and 20 million for 10, 15 years, there's enough money right there that the city could actually reach out to the fair worker and reward him for all the work's been done. And because he's already skilled, he could actually fall in place with the rest of the union workers and have something to be proud of. Now, the organization Powers came up with a plan called wages, that's working and gaining employment security. It was a plan that workfare workers came up with to begin with. Because we know exactly what the problem is, it was very easy for us to come to a solution. First of all, it asks that we get credit for the work that we do, that somebody's actually responsible for collecting our job experience while we're working for General. And that would apply not only for city jobs here in San Francisco, but it's just work history. I mean, you can say, well, I've worked for the last 3 years as a part-time job, but I had these skills. Today, if I was to go and say that, let's say I go to Sarasota, I mean not Sarasota, but go to San Jose and say, I have these skills. I've been working this long. I'm qualified to do your porter job if it's anything similar to the general, San Francisco general job. All you have to do is just check my references and talk to these people. You can't do that. These records of your work does not exist. The skill level that you achieve is not recorded. So you can't walk into anyone's personnel department and give them a detailed explanation of what you've been doing for the last 2 years.
Why can't you do that?
Because of the way that the GA program is set up. It's in order for you to be able to use the work you do as a reference, somebody within the department has got to be responsible for maintaining all the evaluations that are taken at the different job sites. Somebody's got to be able to answer the phone and say, oh yes, Mr. Lattimore did work here. And from my records, he did a very good job for us. And yes, I could recommend him for your job. That's not in place.
How many years did you work at General?
I worked at General for a year and a half, continuously. While I was at the hospital, I became very sick. And so I just went to the emergency room. And from that day forward, I haven't been back to work at General.
What happens when you get sick on the job in a GA work?
There's no process. The probabilities are that you will get cut off. If you don't show up for your regular assignment, you have like 3 days to get in touch with your worker and then begin a process of investigation to why you didn't come to work. That's a basic That's her basic outlook. They just want to know why the work wasn't done.
What amount of money did you receive every 2 weeks?
The most amount of money that I received for a 2-week period was $187.
How were you able to survive?
Well, it means that in order to survive, you can't have a decent place. I mean, you can't get any place for $180 every 2 weeks. In my own case, I chose to either stay in a shelter, or when the shelters got so hazardous, I decided it was better to sleep on the streets.
How many people that you know would move off of GA if there was a living wage job available?
Well, let me put it this way. I don't know anyone who would remain on GA should they be able to qualify for a living wage job. Power was a part of the Living Wage Coalition, and from what I understand, a very popular part, because there were people in the city that said that if the living wage didn't apply to the very poorest in our neighborhoods, in our communities, then it was not a very functional ordinance. So Power worked very hard with the Living Wage Coalition and getting signatures, going out and actually getting enough signatures to put this on the ballot as an effort to have us withdraw the ballots that were necessary to have the living wage be voted on by the voters of San Francisco. The 11th hour negotiations, we agreed that the city and county of San Francisco would make 250 community job initiative jobs for workfare workers. That they would actually work 32 hours a week at $8 an hour, and there would actually be a system set up that those hours that they work would count towards the minimum qualifications for an entry-level job for the city, basically.
Why is that last part important?
Because up until now, that system hasn't existed. There are many workfare workers out there that have the skills and the knowledge to be accepted as, at the very least, as trainees in some of the jobs that they're already doing. But the system doesn't acknowledge those people as workers, first of all, and second, they don't keep records on how long they've been on the job or what skill level they reached. So it's a vicious circle.
I did it for 2.5 years straight.
Right.
And the first application I put in, nothing.
No.
The second application, I went down to the city college and got a certificate as a janitor. I'm a certified janitor now. They hired me right away.
Yeah, well, see, those options weren't open for a lot of people.
Oh, I
and
know.
And then you'll admit, if you hadn't been persistent, you still wouldn't have it.
Well, as a matter of fact, my issue was more with the PACE program because when I went to my PACE worker, she told me I could not get a job by doing workfare for general assistants.
And that's a trip because you can do all the work, but unless somebody gives you the opportunity to actually make the transgression.
Well, basically I did. I went and I persisted with the schooling because, you know, the experience, the letters, all
Yeah.
that. But once you get that certificate, once you go down to the city college there and get that certificate, they have to consider you.
You don't mind if we film it?
Not at all.
What's your name?
My name is Christy.
Okay. Yeah, Christy, I worked for about 2.5 years actually doing the porter job. And and you can confirm the facts that.
Oh yeah, you have to do exactly everything
Right.
pretty much that porters do, but you don't get the money for it.
That's true. So here's a true
I
case.
can vouch for the difference. I was making $290 a month, and now I make over $2,000 a month.
So as a GA worker, you were making $290 a month?
$290. Well, yeah, because I went back on the PACE program. When my worker told me I couldn't get this job, I told her I'd rather go to GA because I knew I could get this job. But I got a heart of steel.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, no problem. Good luck.
Thank you, Christy.
You have a good day.
You too.
How many people that you know of that were GA workers that have gotten a job as a porter?
Besides myself, maybe one or two.
How many of those people are qualified?
Well, I know the gentleman in 5A is very qualified. The other person, I really don't know that person personally.
But how many
But I
people
do
on
know they got hired
how
for
many
GA.
people on GA that you know that could actually do the job should they have the opportunity?
A lot.
A lot. It's one of many that I'd have to empty in a 6-hour period twice a week, and you can tell by the condition it's in right now. When this thing is loaded, it's very hard to maneuver, and I noticed that it seems like no other people were actually involved in emptying it. Sometimes if I leave some trash in here on a Friday, I come back 24 hours later and some of that trash would still be in here. Although there were people working in this department on 3 shifts, 24 hours a day. So my assignment would be to take this trash can and keep it empty, and I'd be evaluated on how well and how often I empty this trash can. Now, if you can remember those blue bins that I was showing in the hallways, this is the area where we would take them to dispose of the garbage. Now today this looks especially clean in the back. I don't ever remember seeing it any cleaner in the 2 years that I did GA work. But these compactors are specially designed to handle hospital garbage. They're designed to actually make the garbage sterile before it reaches wherever landfill that it's supposed to go to. Now, it appears that both of those are operating normally, so I can't show you any the problems that we normally face, but if everything is right, then the garbage gets disposed of, it gets sanitized, and this area remains relatively clean. But first of all, when you're paying somebody slave wages and they're getting manipulated and working under bad conditions, then they're not gonna be motivated to the point where they're going to want to do a good job. They just want to get their job done and get out of here. So, under those circumstances, the kind of bacteria that builds up in this area is normally so bad that you can actually smell the deterioration or whatever biological factors are causing the smell. But like I said, it looks very clean today. Over here on this side, this is a hose with steaming hot water in it. And once we dump the bags out of the bins, we were instructed to use this water to kind of sterilize the bin. So once we take it back in the hospital, it would be as germ-free as possible. But then again, you have to take the mindset of the GA worker, especially after he's been turned down for a job about 2 or 3 times. He's not going to be motivated to touch all the bases, dot all the I's. He's going to lose his ambition to actually do a good job. So I never lost my desire to keep the hospital sanitary, but I know other workers that just lost their motivation altogether. So,